I'm just an average Joe who has been conditioned to pay my taxes and display the flag on the 4th of July. I'm a product of the American public school system and never learned how to think, just what to think. The economic system is a big mystery, and I have no idea how it works. I'm not even curious why there are continuous booms and busts, even though it affects my security and well-being. I'm also not interested in why America has, since the Korean War, been engaged in non-stop wars of convenience. I do fly the flag on the 4th and support our troops by flying the bumper sticker. I have no questions regarding 9/11 and wholeheartedly endorse the official story. I got in a fight with one of my good friends when he said it was a false flag and not as depicted. I told him to keep his stupid conspiracy theories to himself. I didn't look up the meaning of the term. Why should I? I like that the NSA is the only government agency that listens to us. It makes me feel safe and allows me to be free from freedom.
Prior to enlisting after high school, my wife and I had a child, and my intention was to work at the local plastics factory. My understanding is, because of a government free trade agreement, the factory closed and moved to China, where they don't have pollution regulations, health care, and have a much lower wage rate. In my hometown, the factory provided a good wage, possibility for advancement in health care. I looked around for comparative jobs and discovered there were none. I've always liked the idea of what I was taught in high school about America and want to do my duty against those who wish us harm. The ones who wish us harm are the terrorists over in the Middle East, the ones who commandeered those jets on 9/11. I remember George Bush saying, either you're with us or you're with the terrorists, and they hate us for our freedoms. I enlisted, went through basic training where I forgot who I was and would do anything my commander officer told me to do, without question. I spent 4 tours in Iraq as a 50 caliber machine gun operator on a gunship. It seemed to me later that our only job was to wreck the country, and wreck it we did. I also learned that through our actions, 1 million Iraqis, women, and children died. When I got out, I had many ailments, and one of them was called PTSD. The doctors at the VA say this is behind my self-abuse, and also the reason I used to beat my wife. We are now divorced, and I don't have visitation rights to see my boy. I'm one of 48,000 homeless vets as of 2015.
I'm in the Enforcement Division of the Securities and Exchange Commission. I uncovered many irregularities in regard to the bundling of toxic real estate derivatives by several of America's largest banks prior to the meltdown. I took what I uncovered to my boss, and he told me not to worry about it, and that's what I did.
I am now the Senior Advisor for the U.S. Food and Drug Administration under Tom Vilsack, former governor of Iowa, who loves genetically engineered food. I used to work for the Monsanto Corporation as Vice President for Public Policy and was also their chief lobbyist in D.C., District of Criminals. I'm the one responsible for the creation of the GMO policy that says you have no right as a citizen of America to know if your food is GMO or not. Does that smell like freedom? The average cost of medical school is $51,000 per year, and I racked up $170,000 in total school debt. Besides learning anatomy and how the body works, I learned how to prescribe drugs and learned next to nothing on diet. There are 1,100 paid lobbyists in D.C., and from 1998 to 2014, Big Pharma spent $2.9 billion in lobbying expenses. That's legal corruption, by the way. I go to an exotic location every year, paid for by a major pharmaceutical corporation. Drugs seem like a great thing, but they do not cure. They treat. For many of you will be taking a drug or drugs until you pass. For every dollar spent on research, Big Pharma spends $19 on promotions and advertising. Every year, over 100,000 people die from properly prescribed drugs. Approximately 10% of Americans are taking some form of SSRI, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors for depression. Why are they depressed? Because they can't cope with the reality of fear-mongering, corruption, and nonstop war. As an aside, how many people do you know who have cancer or have died from it?
I'm one of the judges who passed the campaign finance law called Citizens United. We dug deep to find those two words, and I hope the Orwellian irony is lost on you. We know who butters our toast, and it's not you. We can stay on the Supreme Court until we die. Because of our decision, any corporation, person, or even another country can give unlimited funds to the politician of their choice.
I am currently a general in the Air Force of the United States. I'm strongly behind the F-35 fighter, the most advanced fighter on the planet, even though it's 3 years behind schedule and $200 billion over what we were told it was going to cost. In a practice dogfight against an F-16, the F-16 beat it hands down. When I retire, Lockheed Martin has promised me a job.
I'm a corn farmer in Iowa. My family used to grow a diverse variety of vegetables, but turned to corn because of the government handout called the Farm Bill. About 15 years ago, on a suggestion from a neighbor, I started to use the Monsanto system for corn cultivation. Monsanto claimed an increase in yields and decrease in the use of pesticides because the pesticide is baked into the genes of the plant. Sounded good to me, except in the past, we would have seed for planting the next year. Monsanto has a patent on their seeds, so we have to purchase seeds from the corporation every year. I use the herbicide Roundup for control of the weeds. But in the last few years, there has been an increase in what are called superweeds. They're immune to glyphosate, and the only way to rid my fields from them is to cut them down with an axe or chainsaw. The U.S. government subsidizes corn because it is used as a fuel additive called ethanol and is processed into many industrial food products, including livestock feed and high fructose corn syrup. The subsidy guarantees me an income no matter what, as long as I grow corn or soybeans. I want to get off this indentured system because my soil is being depleted of healthful minerals, and I understand there is a dead zone in the Gulf of Mexico the size of Connecticut, where the ocean is completely free of aquatic life. Americans are the most obese people on the planet because of the consumption of industrial food derived from corn. I can't kick the free government money, and I reluctantly continue in the program.
I was the head of the largest investment bank during the subprime meltdown in 2007. I received $70.3 million in total compensation, while my firm got a $20 billion bailout from the American people. We also distributed, in 2009, $16.2 billion in bonuses to our key people. The firm gave America his biggest campaign donation in the last election, and our firm has always been well represented in past presidential cabinets and other government agencies. So far, we donated $700,000 to Hillary Clinton's campaign for 3 speeches, and our competitors' banks are doing the same. We fear no recrimination from the Department of Justice, Securities Exchange, or any other government watchdog group because they work for us.
I'm one of the 62 people who hold the same wealth as the bottom half of humanity. If you don't know what half is, that number is 3.7 billion. We always get the persons we want in office and in high positions of bureaucratic power. If we continue to get our way, internal combustion engines will always be the source of power for transportation. We decide what is taught and how it's taught in public schooling. Logic and critical thinking have no place in our curriculum. Because it's normal for people to want money, it's easy to get people to do our bidding.
I used to be the head of the New York branch of the private Federal Reserve. Not federal. No reserve started in 1913 by some of the wealthiest people on the planet at the time. I was tapped to be the head of the treasury even though I didn't pay my taxes, and blame it on the software called TurboTax. I replaced Hank Paulson, who used to be the head of Goldman Sachs. In the past, I worked for Henry Kissinger, a known war criminal, and Treasury Secretary Larry Summers, the main architect behind the removal of the law known as the Glass-Steagall Act, as the Undersecretary of the Treasury. I'm a member of the Bilderberg Group, Council of Foreign Relations, CFR, and the Bank of International Settlements, BIS. The BIS is the central bank of all central banks in Basel, Switzerland. I'm now the president of Warburg Pincus, an American global private equity firm. By the way, Paul Warburg, a British banker, was the main person behind the formation of the Federal Reserve in 1913.
I went to law school to do good for the planet and its people who have been wronged by the system. I racked up considerable student loan debt and found that I could not keep up with my loan payments, helping the poor and nonprofits. So I went over to the corporate side and now work for a multinational genetic seed engineering company. I find myself filling lawsuits against farmers who do not buy our seeds, but find their non-GMO crops have been cross-pollinated by their neighbor crops. There is a case we won against a Canadian farmer for patent infringement, intellectual property rights, the first ever upon a higher life form. The court ruled it does not matter how a farmer, a forester, or a gardener's seed or plants become contaminated with GMOs, whether through cross-pollination, pollen blowing in the wind by bees, direct seed movement, or seed transportation. The growers no longer own their seeds or plants under patent law. They become Monsanto's property. The rate of GMO contamination doesn't matter. Whether it's 1%, 2%, 10%, or more, the seeds and plants still belong to Monsanto. It's immaterial how the GMO contamination occurs or where it comes from. In the U.S., Monsanto has filed lawsuits against 90 farmers. All I can say is organic and GMOs cannot coexist. Sooner or later, all plants will be contaminated by GMOs. Now, I have no problem paying my student loan debt.
I'm running for the highest post in the land, and now I'm barnstorming from state to state, telling people what my advisors think they want to hear.
We all do it, and that's the way it's been here in the home of the free. We have amongst us some who promote a bigger security state to keep you safe from them over there, or we have one of us telling them they will get free stuff. Who doesn't want free stuff? The American people have been well conditioned to get behind their selected Democrat or Republican. When their candidate wins, it's time for celebration and maybe even some tears of joy or despair if your guy lost. It's the every 4-year circus, as Mark Twain said. If voting did anything, it would be illegal. The truth is we don't really care about you, no matter the words we use to get you to vote for me. Next time you just have to vote harder.